Well, 1 week ago, Tulsi Gabbard told a congressional hearing, quote, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not activated the nuclear weapons program. Then last night, President Trump threatened a massive bombing campaign against Iran if a nuclear deal isn't reached. He told NBC News in a phone interview, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before. We want to bring in Colonel Rob Maness now. He's the host of the Rob Maness Show. I mean, what is happening here, Colonel? Trump seemingly contradicting something his national intelligence director said more than a week ago. Seems like and she would have probably access to more intelligence than anyone. She's the one that provides his daily morning briefing every morning, right? With threat assessments. So what's going on here?
You make a good point, Clayton, but remember, these lower level bureaucrats, it is not past them to push lies up to appointed leaders, especially early in an administration like this. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying the reality is, and I have direct experience in this when I was a young officer on the Joint Staff, that Ms. Gabbard probably was briefed by her bureaucrats in the intelligence world that the Iranians are not building a nuclear bomb. And that set it up to where now the president is saying one thing and she's saying another, looking like there's a disagreement, when in reality, based on the experience that I have and what we saw from the North Koreans and their nuclear weapons development program, the Iranians probably do have some level of weapons capability at this point, maybe even 3 to 7 warheads, which we knew about North Korea long before it was ever admitted in public by any of the bureaucrats or appointed leaders. So that's the baseline of where I'm coming from there. And look, they've been lying to us on Ukraine the whole time. I was talking about how the American military was running that operation, just like you were all the way from the very beginning. And we were told, no. I mean, and they lie every single day. So that's where I'm coming from. Now, as far as the president goes and what he said, there's some good news in that activity. And here it is. The good news is that, look, the president is a known quantity to the Ayatollahs and the mullahs and the IRGC. He made a big statement when he took out General Soleimani without notice and sent them the right message about his future leadership. And now we're there. We're at that future leadership. So we've got B-2 bombers in numbers that have never been deployed before to a deployed location down in Diego Garcia, if the open source reporting is to be believed, and I have no reason to question it. We've never done that before. Is that more than just a message without muscle behind it? Absolutely, because of the previous actions of President Donald J. Trump. The good news about that is the Ayatollahs may be able to get out of this without us going to war against Iran, which I am totally opposed to. I've been opposed to that the entire time that this has been an issue, from when Obama put the JCPOA in place and all of that. The neocons want us to go in there in a ground war, boots on the ground, just like Ukraine and Russia are going at it in Europe, and they want to do there too. And we should be adamantly opposed to that. There's no reason for it. That's number one. Number two, if he chooses to use kinetic force against the Iranians, it's going to likely be against their nuclear capability. So it will be limited in scope and limited in time. But really, has the United States Congress, and here's my big question, given us permission to do that beyond what we're doing by defending our U.S. Navy ships and defending commercial shipping traffic in the Red Sea against the Houthis and any Iranian forces associated with that? I've long been an advocate that we should be taking out their command and control and intelligence ships that help the Houthis do that type of thing. But that's not even close to what I would support going against Iran directly, because it's not really necessary. Look, in the first Trump administration, the maximum pressure campaign had them literally on their knees. Unfortunately, this president and this administration entered the situation where we are the ones that are weak, and they've got to get our strength built back up. And You have to meet the situation where it's meeting you. And right now, they've got to understand in the leadership halls of Iran that this man means business.
I mean, it's absolutely chilling. I see so many people in our chat are just saying, I am so sick of these wars. Ez says, no more wars. I mean, I think what so many Trump supporters voted for was, in many ways, George Washington's farewell address, which is American isolationism in a way, like stop these foreign wars. And now here President Trump is bombing Yemen, just launched an attack overnight in Somalia. Like these are all the things that he criticized Obama for. And now we're back at doing it again. I guess at the heart of it, Colonel, is, you had the IAEA report as well. So forget the bureaucrats. If these low-level bureaucrats are lying to Tulsi Gabbard, and then she's getting in front of Congress and saying there's no evidence they're moving towards a nuclear weapon. They want to enrich uranium for their own nuclear power production, which is totally different. And apparently, according to the reports I've seen, that's where all evidence points to, is that they want to enrich uranium for their own nuclear power production, just like we're allowed to do. And I'm not speaking about how great these people are or not. I'm just talking about their own means of energy production in their own country, in their own sovereign country. Then you have the IAEA report just a few months ago confirming with their own eyeballs that they're not moving towards a nuclear weapon. So I'm just lost. Well, who's beating the drum of war here? Because it sounds like it's a fool's errand and we will be killed. I mean, you have 50,000 Americans sitting there sitting ducks right now in the Middle East. Those will be targets. And they're not bases, as you know. These are like little dinky outposts and huts and stuff. You have some bases there, but many of these things are not well equipped to stop hypersonic missiles or anything.
That's true, but they don't have enough hypersonic missile capability to hit every single one of those little outposts. But even one American lost over this is too many. Right. When they killed the three Americans over at the Syria-Jordan border last year. That's too many Americans. They don't need to be there. We don't need to have Americans on the ground in the Middle East at all. Look, it's one thing to defend international shipping lanes, and if somebody shoots at our Navy vessels that are out in international waters, to be able to fire back, which is why I support the operation against the Houthis, because the Biden administration did not do it effectively, and it needs to be carried out effectively to stop that type of behavior. It's another totally other thing to go in and say, well, we need to go to war against Iran and put boots on the ground and do massive bombing campaigns that last for years and years and years. I don't support that. The American people don't support that. I don't believe Donald Trump will support that either. But again, we have to meet the situation where it is. And the situation is that we come into this, the Trump administration comes into this with America that is weak as it has ever been because of this Biden administration. And in order to get peace through strength back where we need it to be, where we're not involved in these endless wars anymore, we have to build up our strength. And while we're doing that, we have to face these criminals that are doing this kind of activity. And the Iranians are not innocent people here. And quite honestly, I don't trust the IAEA either. I've been around nuclear weapons since I was 17 years old, and I don't really believe anything that they say, nor any other international World Economic Forum's type organization at all. I don't believe anything that they say. The only thing that I would believe is if I could walk in and look at it with my own eyeballs, because I would know what I was looking at. So right. The indications have been for many, many years now that they are building up enough enriched uranium to develop nuclear weapons. And they're at a point now where they have had enough capability where North Korea was, in my own experience, when they were getting ready to break out with nuclear warheads. And they were a lot further ahead, actually had 8 of them, if I remember correctly, before we ever acknowledged, and it was a year or two before we ever acknowledged they had the capability. So if they have that capability, we need to be taking a look at that. But that's even more beside the point. If it's a direct threat to the United States, then it's our problem. But it's not a direct threat to the United States. It's only a threat because we have our troops on the ground in the Middle East.
Bingo.
Or if they want to put nukes, unless they use nukes in international shipping lanes, that's a totally different story. Then we would have to respond to that.
So now you hit the nail on the head.
Let me bring the Israelis in for a second here.
Yeah, well, I just want to say you hit the nail on the head, and we'll come back to the Israelis because hold on. We'll come back to the Israelis
because they are a direct threat to the Israelis from a nuclear weapons perspective, and if the Israelis see a need from their national security perspective to take their targets out on their nuclear side, who could disagree with them? But the United States doesn't need to be involved in that.
Bingo. Okay, great. Right. Again, this is not the United States' situation. This is not the United States' war. And I challenge anyone out there to tell me how it's in our interest to go to war with Iran. How is it in our interest to go to basically, not only that, we would torpedo everything we're trying to accomplish in Ukraine on a peace deal because the Russians would back the Iranians. This would be a World War III situation for us to go to war with Iran. I think it's madness. I think you hit the nail on the head. There's no benefit to the United States. It does benefit Israel, but again,
but Israel has that. Israel has the capability they need to address the situation if they feel that they're about to get attacked by nuclear weapons from Iran. Now, having the United States presence on the high seas there and those kind of things is not a bad thing if somebody does decide to attack Iran's nuclear forces, because remember, China and Russia are both involved in this, more concerned about China than anybody else, because they're running free in those oceans too, and they're not getting attacked by the Houthis and the Iranians because they're friends with them. So you have to have some kind of hedge there to prevent any further outbreak, because there's the real World War III right there. It's what I've been saying since we started this stupidity with Ukraine, is that we are on the brink of a complete global World War III. And the facts don't support not doing anything, but they also don't support going further into a kinetic conflict, especially against Iran, when you don't really need to. I go back to the maximum pressure campaign. I think the president and his team originally had the right idea, and I'm voting for that.
Can I ask you this? I know this is a difficult question. Why does Israel have the right to have nuclear weapons and lie to the American people about it, lie to JFK about it, lie to Eisenhower about it? Why do the Iranians not get to have nuclear weapons?
Well, first of all, they got them at a different time, number one. Number two, they haven't been, they're threatening to wipe different types of peoples off the face of the earth using them. They've used them as really a deterrence capability. They've never used them in anger, haven't even threatened publicly to use them in anger. The difference between the mullahs and the Israelis when it comes to that type of weaponry is so dramatic that it's unthinkable that we would let the Islamist Nazis, and that's what they are, have nuclear weapons that they could fire into Europe, fire into the rest of the Middle East, fire into Eurasia, and eventually be able to fire onto the United States. They don't have that capability right now, but trust me, they will go after it once they do that breakout. Are they broken out? I think they're broken out already with, like I said, between 3 and 7 warheads, and they have the capability to deliver them medium range because of the missile capabilities they have. But they aren't even close to being able to hit the United States with it, although our forces would be in grave danger if they decided they were going to go use this. So the Islamo-Nazis do crazy things. You cannot rely upon them to be stable. You cannot rely upon them to be rational actors. And that's what has made the Cold War possible. And the victory there is that both the Russians, the Soviets, and the Americans were rational actors. The Chinese communists and the Americans are rational actors. Israel fits into that same category. The Islamo-Nazis, they don't fit into that category. And they are hell-bent on destroying the state of Israel and wiping it off the face of the earth, no matter what the situation is and what warrants it. It's why we keep an eye on Pakistan very, very closely, and the Indians. They both are nuclear weapon states, and so far have been rational actors and have used it for the deterrent capability that they designed them and fielded them for, which is against each other. But there's no confidence amongst anybody that I know from a Western perspective that the Iranians be the same way.
Oh, man. Well, we pissed off a lot of people in the chat room today. Daniel says,
Yeah.
damn, Clayton, that's a dumb question about, and then MSW says, yep, well said, Clayton. So you can't make anyone happy, but it's
not in this.
I mean, not in this, when we're sitting on World War III. You know, and I'm just pushing for an American first policy. And I hope that, these neocons, I hope that these nut jobs in Washington aren't driving this administration in the wrong direction. I mean, I happen to know from my sources inside the White House that, in fact, there's a group of individuals inside the White House that are actively trying to prevent going to war with Iran. And then there's a group that's actively trying to go to war with Iran. So they're at loggerheads right now inside the White House on this very question. It's deeply troubling. Yep. Who's going to win? Who's going to win Trump's ear? That's the real question here. Yeah. Colonel, thank you so much for your time today. I know we ran a little late, and I appreciate you sticking around with us. The host of the Rob Maness Show, you can check him out. Colonel, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clayton. I appreciate you having me on. It's a tough discussion, but it has to be had.